Hi. Welcome to Fishburners. My name is Mark. I'm the city manager here at Fishburners, and it's an absolute pleasure to host you all today. Just quick, so we just had lunch, so I've been very blessed with the best slot of the day, so I'm feeling very fortunate for that. But just quick, I wanted to get a show of hands to see who was in the room before I got started. Career advisors. Who's a career advisor in the room? Awesome. The most important people. Excellent. Who is the support staff at a school or an organisation in the room? Also very important, wonderful. Other organisations in the room that are here showing off their organisation today. Woo! Excellent. I just want to say on behalf of Fishburners a huge thank you for coming here today and a huge welcome. We are very blessed with this beautiful space in the middle of the city. And we're very, very keen to be able to show people exactly what the new types of startups in the Brisbane ecosystem look like. So we very much appreciate you coming and spending some time with us today. I guess from my point of view, there's 4 things that I want to quickly cover today, because I don't want to take for granted that you might not actually know what a startup is. I also want to quickly talk to you about Fishburners and explain to you a little bit about our history, what we do, why we do what we do, and obviously how you can tell our story when you're telling people at your school next week what you did on Friday. That would be super awesome. I also want to talk to you about why career advisors matter. And I think that you have a very important role in the ecosystem, because for a lot of people, you're going to be the first person that somebody expresses what they want to do with the rest of their life to. And from our point of view, we'd like to encourage you and empower you to, if there's anybody that's interested in potentially starting a startup, to give you some resources in regards to how to do that. And then finally, I want to help you guys change the world, just casually. I can see my team going, uh-oh. I want to help you guys change the world, and I want to help you guys see from our perspective why we want to partner with you guys in particular, because realistically, you guys have a huge place in some of the high schools around Queensland, and we want to honour that. So we'll get started, but just know that from our point of view, we very much thank you for being here and very much appreciate future world changes being in the room with us today. So, what is a startup? One of the key differentiations, I guess, is what's the difference between a startup and a small business? So a small business is typically service or product orientated, but usually grows linearly over a period of time, whereas a startup is slightly different. A startup is a young growth company that uses technology and innovation to tackle large and often global markets. So the idea is that for a startup, you're thinking big at the very start. And ultimately, usually that means that you're looking for investment. Usually that means you're starting with minimal resources. It usually means that from a high school point of view, that it is done with technology that you can use either on a mobile phone, on a desktop, or some sort of upcoming technology that could improve a process, disrupt an industry, or do something really fascinating or interesting. Now, the reason why I want to make that clarification for you guys is because realistically, I don't want to take for granted that just because we're surrounded by startups every day, that you guys know exactly what to look for when you're looking for someone who's potentially looking at starting a startup. So from our point of view, I guess the things that I want to let you know is that this is a pretty big play for the Australian economy all up. Approximately $100 billion contribution to our GDP over the next 20-something years. 65% of the industries out there are very much looking at technology disrupting the way that they do business. And oftentimes it's going to either come from somebody in Australia that's coming through and finding different and interesting ways to do things, or somebody from overseas finding interesting and new ways to do things. And from our point of view, it would be great to encourage Australians to be able to do this disruption so that we can keep a lot of the jobs and a lot of the economy and a lot of the actual commercial growth from these types of operations in Australia. 500,000 new jobs over the next 20 years. That's a big number. And as career counsellors, I'm assuming that that's a curious number for you, because I guess from your point of view, you'll say, well, how do we equip and how do we see this as an opportunity for our students? They could be starting startups, they could be working for startups, they could be in an ecosystem like us, where we're working to support startups. Realistically, this has been a relatively new industry, but something I think that you guys are ahead of the curve at because you're already engaging with it. And so from my point of view, Thank you very much for being here today to see what it looks like. And we will possibly run a tour. Actually, we'll definitely run a tour for anybody who's interested a bit later on to actually see what the co-working space upstairs looks like for our startups. But I guess I just want you to know that this isn't just something that Brisbane is doing or Australia is doing in isolation. This is a global thing that we're participating in. And we're very excited about what we're seeing here in Brisbane locally. Who is starting startups? And I guess this is also something that should be a fascination to you all, is that traditionally small businesses are run by people usually between late 20s to early 60s. Startups, however, tend to be a little earlier. So when you're looking at who's running startups, 55, or at least half of those are between 25 to 40 years old, but the age group that starts most startups is between 20 and 25. Most of those startups either start or at some time actually come into a co-working space like Fishburners. And I'll tell you a little bit about Fishburners in a sec, but I guess why that's important is because what we've found is that starting a startup is actually a really lonely and a really difficult process. Oftentimes, like the structure that you have in a role, where you have somebody that you're answering to with a job description, with a set outline in regards to what you do and don't do on a day-to-day basis, that doesn't exist for somebody who's trying to start a startup. They're literally making all that up in real time, depending on where they see opportunities on a day-to-day basis. So leading people can be really tricky. Working for a startup can be even more of an adventure because you're trying to report through to that person who's learning in real time how to run a startup. So from our point of view, giving you a little bit of insight into this enables you to start to be able to point out who are the students that you might see coming through your schools that might display some interest or attention into startups and entrepreneurship as a whole, and how might you best prepare them for a future where they might actually be able to run their own business if by the age of 20 to 25 they might have already started. That's super exciting for you because that puts you guys in a position of power where you can help these students actually become who they want to be long term. In regards to Fishburners, so I guess to give a little bit of context for us, we're super excited and obviously helping startups grow their business, but we're a not-for-profit, we're a charity, so we don't make any money specifically from running the business, so we're not a for-profit business. What we do is we try and help early stage startups who are looking to use technology to grow a product or platform to get to a point where they're scaling either growth, so user numbers, or getting a large investment so they can then obviously go to the next part of their business life cycle, or they get to a point where their revenue is growing at a point where they can either go into another part of the ecosystem, so whether that's an accelerator, whether that is into another co-working space that deals specifically with that type of business model. Our point of view is that we are at that very early stage. And I guess that the thing that I want to let you know here is that our vision is to be the very best place for a startup to start. Because at that early stage is where most startups fail. That's where you either run out of money or you go all in on the wrong idea. And from our point of view, our goal is to be able to coach people through that process, to surround them by other people doing similar things. And our values are very much in around inspiring people to start a startup. We don't think that everyone should start a startup. We just think that everyone who wants to should have the opportunity to try. We also think that collecting entrepreneurs and startups in spaces like this enables them to be able to get the most out of the limited resources that they actually have. We also do a big job in connecting entrepreneurs and startups with the broader ecosystem, to investors, to professional help, and making sure that they have mentors and people who have already done what they wanted to do on tap so that they can tap into their expertise and their experience. And then lastly, we like to showcase, as we have done today, our startups in a way that allows you to be able to integrate, to engage with them, where the wider industry is able to engage with them. And then obviously from a PR, a growth, and a Brisbane story point of view, being able to show what Brisbane startups can do on a global stage. Because we actually have some very successful startups already up on level 3. We have about 60 startups up in level 3 at the moment. Holistically across Australia, we have 176 startups with 351 members, and we have about 500 visitors to our spaces every week. So we have a Brisbane office, a Sydney office, and a Shanghai office. Here in Brisbane specifically, we have about 55 of those startups and about 80 of those members. we've only been open since November. And so there's been a huge appetite for people interested in starting their own startup, coming here to Brisbane, or already being in Brisbane, and using a space like Fishburners to be able to start their idea. I think why that matters to you is because if you have the capacity to engage with us at an early stage, and potentially using programs for your students and your staff, we can actually start to make that transition period a lot easier for you if that's something that you feel like your students or your school would be interested in doing. I think that that would be a really great relationship for us to be able to encourage you to have, because realistically your students, they are our future. And from our point of view, empowering them to do what they're passionate about, but teaching them how to do it or reducing the amount of risk when they start, enables more ideas to get off the ground and actually get to the point where they're serving other people. And that's what we're really, really passionate about. Our team, so myself, I'm 6'5", I talk a little bit too much. I've just turned 30, so my jokes are turning into dad joke territory, so I apologise if they don't quite land, but that's okay. I'm glad that we're also recording this, so everybody at home can tell that as well. But we have 3 other people here in our Brisbane team as well, who are just as passionate about startups as I am. So we have Kat, the beautiful Kat over here, who is doing a wonderful job with our events and programs. We also have Ayush, who's our office manager, who does all the logistics and negotiations for us at Fishburners in Brisbane. We also have Ria, who's the marketing manager here as well, and she does that nationally as well. So in regards to marketing collateral, so for Fishburners, we have the capacity to be able to provide you things pretty quickly because we have that facility here in Brisbane. In regards to our success stories, so more broadly speaking, Fishburners has been around since 2011. We were founded by a gentleman called Peter Davison and another gentleman called Mike Casey. Now, Peter Davison might not ring a bell to you, but he was the first investor into PayPal. And when PayPal was sold to eBay in the early 2000s, that was where Peter probably made the biggest return of investment on his investments as a VC. He returned back to Australia and realised that in Sydney, in particular where he was at that time, there wasn't an ecosystem the same way there was in San Francisco for people to start startups. So he and Mike did. And they started with a small facility, and they just let it be known that if there's anybody working on cool, interesting ideas, that they were open for them to come and work with them at this space. Since then, we've had about 850 startups come through either our Sydney, our Brisbane, and Shanghai offices. And I think that the really cool thing about that story was that we started that organically with no real intention of necessarily building Fishburners into the entity that it is today. There was just this demand for people interested in knowing what to do and how to launch a startup, and there just wasn't much available at the time. So in 2016, we started the Fishburners Brisbane office with the support of the Brisbane City Council, which we're very blessed to have help with this facility when we came up here. And we've been very, very fortunate that we've had a really great response so far. And we're looking at probably being 95% full by the end of the year. Now, that's really exciting. Like, these are the people that you're teaching, these are the people that you're working with, these are the people that you're working for, deciding that they want to chase an idea and build a business model around something that they're really passionate about. And so from our point of view, our team is super excited about being able to transition those people into people who've been able to progress their idea to a point where they've either got that investment or initial revenue that allows them to be able to turn that into a fully fledged business. In regards to our success stories, we've also had a number of big success stories out of Sydney, and I guess some more localised successes out of Brisbane as well. Some of those include, I think that in the handout, we've got a couple of statistics there as well. But we have a business called Go Catch that got an investment of $3 million. It's kind of like a local competitor to Uber. We have another business called Design Crowd that came through Fishburners, and they received $12 million worth of funding to launch that business at full scale. We have another business called Pixie, or another startup called Pixie, that went to San Francisco and was part of one of the largest accelerators in the world there, who then came back to Queensland as part of the Hot Desk program that the Queensland government runs. So she was able to bring all her expertise from San Francisco back into the Brisbane ecosystem. In Brisbane, we also have a business called Enablo, who has just partnered with Facebook to do all their API and training across the Australian and Asia Pacific region. And if you're going to partner with anybody, you may as well partner with somebody big like Facebook, which is super exciting. We also have a team called Krilla, who have half their team in San Francisco and half their team here. And it's been great to be able to get their expertise of other local ecosystems and bring that knowledge back to Brisbane. So these people aren't just working on ideas that affect us locally. These people are dreaming big and they're going all over the world, and that's super exciting for us. In regards to probably the most important part of my conversation today, why do career counsellors matter? I think career counsellors matter because to us, you are the custodians of the dreams of the next generations coming through. At some level, when I used to work at the University of Queensland, and I used to do a lot of consulting work to their Young Alumni program and to some of their entrepreneurship program. But when I asked them, who was the person who inspired you, or why is the reason why you studied what you did? It was usually two answers, either my parents, or there was a teacher at school that inspired me. And so from our point of view, you guys are at the front line of this conversation, and we want to enable you to be able to have it on our behalf. Once again, we don't think that everyone should start a startup. It's really hard. But at the same time, there is definitely students in your cohorts that might be really good at this. And not only good at it, they might be the next generation of people that come through who can possibly change the world. And I think that one of the two stories that I want to attest to this is my own personal story. So I come from a little country town called Inverell out near Tamworth and Armidale. And the person that inspired me most was my dad. And when I was 13, I was like, Dad, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And he's like, well, I don't know what you should do either. But I did hear about this gentleman the other day who bought a pie shop. And he did the pie shop up and sold it for twice as much as he bought it for. And I was like, what do you call those things, Dad? And he's like, I think they're called entrepreneurs. I was like, I think I want to be one of those. And so my background before I was consulting at UQ was running my own financial planning firm. And I ran that financial planning firm because my dad had a financial planning firm. But the second most important person in my life when it came to deciding what I wanted to do when I grew up was a gentleman called Mr. Shadlow, who was my career counsellor. And he was the person I went to and said, how do I become an entrepreneur? What do I study? And he was the one that guided me through that process. And so from my point of view, I can completely attest to the fact that you guys in this room matter because the person in my life that changed my life apart from my dad was my career counsellor. The second story I want to talk to you about was our founder, Peter Davison. Peter was the first investor into PayPal, which sold for $1.5 billion. But what I didn't tell you at the start was that Peter grew up in Queensland. In fact, Peter actually went to school at Jindalee. Peter was just Pete from Jindalee, who went to the University of Queensland and decided that he wanted to make something big. And at that stage, entrepreneurship and venture capitalist wasn't cool. But he and a friend went to San Francisco and decided to invest in somebody. They accidentally invested in PayPal. That's a pretty good investment. And when he came back, the things that he's done for the Australian ecosystem have been enormous. But I guess the thing I want to encourage you is that he was just Peter from Jindalee once upon a time. And from my point of view, that's why we see you as being the first, the first responders to an entrepreneurship dream is the people that you tell at the start. And so I want to empower you guys to feel like you have an important part of this process. How am I going for time, Kat?
Yeah.
All right, I'll wrap up soon. In regards to how you can change the world, we want to empower you to change the world by helping your students to do that. What that looks like is completely dependent on obviously your school situation, your personal capacity as a career advisor, but we want to partner with you to be able to enable you to be able to unleash the next generation of entrepreneurs into thinking about starting their startup. Whether that is just experiencing what a startup looks like, whether that's actually having a mentor or a peer or somebody that they can have some sort of interaction with, whether that's a program to do with your school, whether that's something where we can come and actually bring some of our startup founders to your school to give speeches, whatever that looks like for you, we want to help you to inspire the next generation of people to start their startup. Because for us, you guys are at the front line of this. In regards to how we can help, we'll have a tour at about 3:30 for anybody who's interested to quickly have a look at the space upstairs. But in regards to getting in contact with us, whether it's myself or the team, we'd love for you to reach out, whether that's by email or by phone, and we'd love to talk to you about how we can help you and your schools to be able to empower these potential entrepreneurs that you have in your system. In wrapping up, you are the people that inspire your students as to what is possible. And the things that you suggest they do, whether that is from an OP point of view, whether it is what they study, whether it is trying to work out what's possible, some students have it really tough, and you're the people that are going to give them confidence that they can actually achieve what they want to. We want to help you do what you do best, which is bring the best out of your students. And if I think about why I'm here at Fishburners, it's because I believe that everybody should do their best work and to live their best life. And so from our point of view, on behalf of Fishburners, thank you so much for coming here today. Thank you very much for taking such a proactive step in regards to encouraging your students to be who they can be. And if you have any questions, I'd love to have you around for a tour about 3:30 for anyone who's interested in having a look. Have a wonderful rest of your day.